Okay, let's unpack this. Our mission today is a deep dive into the 2023 integrated report of one of the largest utility companies in the country.
A mixed capital sanitation giant.
Right. Mixed capital. So that means it's partially state-owned, but also has private investors. And this company is, I mean, it's absolutely fundamental.
It is. We're talking water supply, sewage treatment, running landfills.
Across 345 municipalities. And this deep dive is crucial because 2023 was a real pivot point, wasn't it?
A huge one. The whole sector is grappling with the new legal framework for sanitation, and it sets this incredibly ambitious deadline.
The 2033 deadline.
Exactly. Near universal service. That's, 99% water access and 90% sewage treatment. It's not just a small tweak, it's a total overhaul of national infrastructure.
So that's the regulatory mountain they have to climb. But they went into this year with their balance sheet looking pretty healthy.
Oh, absolutely. Net revenue hit $6.3 billion, and that was backed by some really substantial operating cash generation.
That stability must have bought them a lot of trust, especially externally. I saw they got the highest credit rating, AAA, reaffirmed by both Fitch and Moody's.
And what's fascinating about that rating is the signal it sends. It tells the market we're stable right when they needed that long-term certainty the most.
Because it wasn't just about day-to-day performance.
No. The challenge in 2023 was securing the framework, the agreements they needed to justify the massive investments that those 2033 targets demand. That credit rating was their key leverage.
So they secured the financial backing. But you can't build infrastructure on paper. Let's get into the operational reality. What were the, say, top 3 headwinds they faced in 2023?
The first, and I'd argue the most vital one, was just locking down those long-term concession agreements. The new federal framework, it sort of inherently created instability.
Right, for any utility that relies on investments that pay off over, 20 or 30 years.
Exactly. So the company had to prove unequivocally that they had the financial and the operational muscle to hit those aggressive universalization deadlines.
And their response was powerful. They secured contract standardization until 2048 for 331 municipalities.
And that's huge. That covers 95% of their total revenue base. That extension, spanning over 2 decades, is essentially their long-term runway to get this done.
And it was certified, right?
Critically, yes.
Yeah.
The state regulatory agency, HPAR, certified it. So for you listening, think of HPAR as a third-party auditor. They're the ones who confirm the utility actually have the financial capacity to fulfill its promises.
So that certification removed a huge piece of strategic uncertainty.
The largest piece, I'd say.
Okay, so that's the regulatory part solved. Challenge 2 sounds like it's more about the daily grind.
Yeah.
Fighting water losses and, outright theft.
And the numbers here are eye-watering, losing 23.2 million cubic meters of water just from illegal connections.
That translates directly to 163 million in lost revenue.
It's a massive hole in the boat.
Yeah.
And it's a loss that, ultimately the end user has to subsidize in some way.
So how did they respond?
This is key. They moved beyond just traditional enforcement and really leaned into advanced technology. They're installing sensors for real-time leak detection.
And I saw something about satellites.
Yeah, that's maybe the most cutting-edge part. They're deploying satellite leak detection tests. This helps them pinpoint underground issues that are totally invisible to older methods. It's a shift from being reactive to being preventative.
An efficiency play.
A big one.
Okay, and the third major challenge. This is one that I feel like every utility is facing now. Climate change and water security.
Absolutely. The state they serve saw these extreme weather shifts, heavy rainfall right after years of drought. And when your core product is water, hydrological risk is, it's truly existential.
You can see they recognized it in the budget.
Clearly, the investment in water security just exploded. It went from about $1.25 million in 2019 all the way up to $21.14 million in 2023.
That's a huge commitment. And they also co-developed that system, Info Hydro.
Yes, with state agencies.
Tell us a bit more about that. How does something like real-time monitoring actually help a utility on the ground?
It's a game changer. InfoHydro gives them real-time hydrometeorological data and, crucially, 7-day forecasts.
So they can see what's coming.
Exactly. If they see heavy rain is on the way, they can manage reservoir levels ahead of time, adjust pumping, even warn customers about potential interruptions. It's about not being caught flat-footed by a major weather event. It's a defensive strategy against climate chaos.
That really sets the stage for the major strategic events of the year. They stabilize the foundation, address the gaps. So what were the big high-impact pivots that are going to set up the next decade?
Well, the first and most foundational event wasn't something they finished, but what they committed to. The board approved the 2024 to 2028 multi-year investment plan.
And the number here is just enormous.
It's $11.2 billion. This capital injection is the blueprint to guarantee water quality and actually hit those 2033 goals.
Wait, 11.2 billion. That is a colossal sum. Is there any skepticism about their ability to, you know, deploy that much capital efficiently, especially given some of the fines we're going to talk about later?
That is the right critical question to ask.
Mhm.
I mean, historically, utilities struggle to deploy capital this quickly. This plan is the highest investment level they've ever committed to.
So they have the runway now with the 2048 extensions.
They have the plan, but the effective execution, the engineering, contracting, construction across all those municipalities, that is going to be the biggest management test of the next 5 years.
Okay, so that's event one. Let's move to the second, the circular economy shift. This is where it gets really interesting for me. They're starting to treat waste not as an expense, but as potential revenue.
Exactly. They even set up a new innovation and new business office just to drive this. They fully acquired a company, CS Bioenergia, to scale up biogas production.
Right, for energy self-sufficiency. But the really big move was that partnership with Superback, wasn't it?
It was.
And that's the company they picked to help commercialize sewage sludge. Why is that so significant?
Because sewage sludge is usually a huge, expensive disposal problem. It just ends up in landfills. Their goal with Superback is to transform that sludge into organic and organomineral fertilizers.
So turning trash into cash, basically.
It's the classic circular economy play. If you can turn a major operational waste stream into a profitable ancillary revenue stream, you fundamentally change your business model. The potential there is enormous.
And Event 3 shows how they plan to fund the sheer scale of all this expansion. Public-private partnerships or PPPs?
Yes, they signed their first major one for the Center Coast microregion, which covers 16 municipalities. The private partner is investing nearly $1.2 billion in sewage infrastructure.
It's a critical shift, isn't it? Because they probably can't hit those 2033 goals on their own.
There's no way. Leveraging external, specialized private capital through these PPPs is really the only practical way to meet those demanding timelines.
That's a great overview of their strategy. Let's transition now to the ESG pillars, starting with the environmental E.
On the E, there's a real focus on turning waste management into a highly efficient process. They completed this sludge thermal drying system at the Atubasol STP.
And this system is pretty remarkable.
It is. It uses the plant's own biogas or biomass to reduce the wet sludge humidity way down below 20%.
Which results in a four-fold volume reduction. The key takeaway for you listening is that this massive reduction means the waste no longer has to go to landfills.
Exactly. That's a tangible, implemented success.
Yeah.
But their future commitment is what really grabbed my attention. It's high risk, high reward.
The Moonshot Project.
You could call it that. They've partnered with German government institutions to do a feasibility study on producing renewable hydrogen.
Okay, from the plasmolysis of biomethane.
Right.
Let's pause there for a second. For our audience, that's a lot of technical terms. What's the simple version of the hydrogen project?
In simple terms, they're looking at taking the methane gas that's naturally created when you treat sewage, which is a waste gas, and using a high-tech process to break it down into clean, renewable hydrogen.
And this plasmolysis is just a way to split the methane molecule.
Basically, yeah. Using high heat or plasma, the ambition is massive. They want this to be the second plant of its kind in the world.
Wow. But the limitation is that it is still very much a study, right? It's not a done deal.
Not at all. It shows huge ambition, but it carries significant execution, scaling, and capital risks.
Okay, moving to the social S. The commitment to vulnerable customers here isn't just talk, it's quantifiable.
Very much so. Their flagship program, Agua Solidaria, expanded to serve 356,000 low-income families in 2023.
And the financial impact is huge. The benefits from the tariff discount totaled $304.3 million.
That is material assistance. It's direct support for community resilience. And they also showed an important focus on inclusion.
With the funds for traditional peoples.
Yes, dedicating $2 million per year, specifically for indigenous villages and Quilombola communities, and they signed their first cooperation agreement to upgrade water infrastructure in some coastal indigenous villages last year.
Finally, governance, the G. They continue to strengthen their integrity program, rolling it out to third parties, revising the code of conduct, and they reported no confirmed incidents of corruption.
That integrity record is strong. But the governance picture, as always, has some nuance.
Okay.
On the positive side, the company was selected for B3's first ever diversity index, IDVersa. Here's a standout statistic for you. Their internal analysis showed the average base salary for women is almost 12% higher than for men in operational and technical careers.
Wow, 11.89% higher. That is an unexpected and frankly rare achievement in pay equity, especially in the utilities sector.
It's a huge positive to highlight, but there are still limitations.
At the highest levels of leadership, correct?
They do. Despite that pay equity win, you look at the executive board and it's 8 men and only 1 woman. So diversity is still low at the very top.
And there's this tension too, the fines.
Right. We have to address that. Despite the strong internal integrity efforts, the company received 26 fines for non-compliance with laws and regulations last year.
For a total of $10.66 million.
Let's pause on that. Those fines represent execution gaps. How does that tension, this massive $11.2 billion investment ambition on one hand, versus these current quantifiable failures that led to $10.66 million in penalties, how does that reflect on their governance?
It has to raise a red flag, right, about quality control.
It does. They have excellent policies on paper, the code of conduct, the integrity program, but the local operating units are still failing on specific compliance measures. And if you're about to commit $11.2 billion, these small execution gaps, if you don't close them, could multiply and lead to much, much bigger problems.
Which sets up perfectly what they need to prioritize next year. So looking at their roadmap, what are the top 3 things they absolutely must get right?
Priority number 1 has to be the full, efficient execution of that multi-year investment plan. They've committed the $11.2 billion. Now they have to deploy it to meet that non-negotiable legal mandate for universal access by 2033.
Because if they delay, the 2048 concession extensions are at risk.
Ultimately, yes. Priority 2 is all about driving those new revenue streams from their innovation pipeline, pushing that circular economy shift.
So turning those pilot projects into real businesses.
Exactly. Transitioning things like the sewage sludge fertilizer partnership from pilot phase to a viable commercial model. But there's also a massive efficiency play here.
The free energy market.
Yes, finalizing the migration of 887 operating units to the free energy market. That's projected to save them $620 million over 5 years. That is a guaranteed boost to the bottom line if they execute it.
And the final priority, it seems to circle back to climate resilience, securing their core product.
It's all about enhancing water resilience infrastructure. They have to accelerate major projects like the Maringuava Dam, which will secure water for 650,000 people.
And they're also using nature-based solutions.
Right, the Iguazu Water Reserve Program. They're converting old mineral extraction areas into natural reservoirs and wetlands. It's about creating robust, long-term water availability without just relying on, traditional expensive concrete and steel.
This has been a fascinating deep dive, a company that is really redefining itself under immense pressure. Let's try to summarize the 3 biggest insights for you, our listener.
Okay, key insight 1. Long-term regulatory stability is secured. The concession extensions to 2048, plus that massive $11.2 billion capital plan, it positions them to meet that 2033 deadline. They've bought the runway they needed.
Key insight 2. Innovation is now a core business driver. The company is pivoting from being a plain utility into a circular economy player. They're turning waste sludge, biogas into revenue, and exploring things like renewable hydrogen.
And key insight 3. There is a deep, quantifiable commitment to social equity. I mean, programs like Agua Solidaria provided $304.3 million in benefits, and their investments for traditional communities show a real material focus on their most vulnerable customers.
It just shows the complexity of managing critical infrastructure today. They're balancing massive investment, climate risk, and social equity all at once.
It does. And this brings up an important question for you to consider. Given the scale of this new $11.2 billion plan and bringing in new PPP partners, how effectively can the company integrate its aggressive innovation strategy while also managing its internal execution quality to minimize future fines?
Right.
That tension between ambition and execution, that is the ultimate test of their governance structure moving forward.
That is certainly something for you to mull over as you integrate these insights into your own understanding of the utility sector.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
We'll catch you next time.